This is Tom Duty, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Duty in a Google search from my site. Repeatedly, people are dealing with the rapid growth of Covid-19 and the deaths, and just can't comprehend this being as simple as it is. You know, this is, as Trump said, like the flu. It is very much like the flu. It passes like the flu. It's a respiratory disease, but its infection rate is higher and it kills more people. Not that much more than the flu. The death is horrible, and the number of people that are dying is just staggering. But nonetheless, it is very much like the flu. So here's the math that what I hope is that someone will take one step closer to understanding that Italy is now 10,000 deaths, and New York is high as well and growing. The nation now has more infected people. The U.S. nation has more infected people than any other country. So I think people still can't understand it and are fabricating alternative explanations. From Italy, through a couple of intimate conversations, not involving me, comes a person in Italy who thinks it's in everyone. You know, this idea that I can't really deal with the reality of it, so if it's in everyone, there's really nothing I can do to stop it. You know, it's just fate. So anyways, I'm going to recreate this chart here and explain it as I go. And then I'm going to switch over to the spreadsheet here, and I hope to explain how something that passes like the flu, that is like the flu, that infects and kills people like the flu, but just has a little bit higher rate to pass from one to another, and a lot higher, about 10 times higher, lethality rate. So very much like the flu in a lot of ways, but now we've got this massive epidemic. And here's the chart that I believe can explain it in sort of simple terms. So I'm going to recreate this right now. So I erase and say, if you have one person and it passes to 5. Now, anyone who is comparing COVID-19 to the flu can accept that when someone gets the flu, someone else in the house gets the flu. And so the flu might pass to 1, 2, or 3. That same person who can accept that the flu passes to 1, 2, or 3, you know, it's just logical. We have life experience that tells us that's true. Having a flu-like disease that passes to 5 people is sort of something everyone can comprehend. What I'm saying is that if you take your experience with the flu, one person passes it to 2 or 3, and now you got a flu-like disease that's passing to 5, that's something people can comprehend. Now, in addition to that, there is widespread data that says this is the average for COVID-19. Someone who gets it is passing it to 5 people. Now, for all the people who just mistrust everyone, our governments, the Chinese government, the Italian government, and especially President Trump, or Governor Cuomo, for people who just can't trust any of this, if this number is wrong, if this 5 number, 1 passes to 5, if this number is wrong, there are people that would say it's wrong. This 1 to 5, nobody's saying it's wrong. We've got enough dead people. We've got enough sick people. We know how it's being passed. And this 1 to 5 number is a number that we have tens of thousands of case studies already that tell us this is a reliable number. So anyways, 1 becomes 5. And then this 1 here becomes 5. 3, 4, 5. This one here becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one here becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And finally, the fifth one becomes 5. Now, we are still able to count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So this row here becomes 25. So that fast, 5 became 25. Just as one person can pass it to 5, each of those do the same thing. Again, the case study on COVID-19 supports that this 5 number is correct. So this becomes 5, this becomes 5. Now suddenly we have 25. Now if this happened again, if these 25 passed it in the same way as this 1, each of these 25 passed it in the same way as this 1, then this number down here is 625. Now, this becomes immediately, I can't draw 621, 625 little hash marks. I can't even put 25 on the same row. So suddenly this becomes incomprehensible. So that's where I'm going to switch over to the spreadsheet. So listeners, if you understand what I said so far and how we got to 25, 1 becomes 5 becomes 25. If you understand that, I'm going to ask you to stay with me for just a minute. Now I'm going to recreate this chart here and explain it as I go. Hopefully I can. This is Google Sheets on a smartphone. This is cut. Whoops. I wanted to clear. Clear. This was not very well planned. Clear. Somehow I got to get to the big font again. So maybe I can do that now. So let me just start here. So listeners, if you're still with me, I'm in crisis. I planned this, but I didn't rehearse it. Okay. As soon as I put in a number in it, it gets bigger. Okay, I'm back on track. So let's start with 1 person here. So I'm going to change this number to 1. And now we have 1 person here. And from the chart before, we know 1 becomes 5. Again, I spent a significant amount of time explaining that if you go from flu, how it spreads to 1 or 2, everyone can kind of accept that. Sometimes it spreads to 3. It's not too much of a reach to say, well, this disease is going to 5. So 1 becomes 5, and then 5 becomes 25. Now that's what I was able to show with my drawing. Now just that fast, when 25 becomes 625, that's what I'm not able to show. I cannot draw 625, and that's where I think people get lost. So let me do this in mathematical terms. So what I'm asking you to listen to me on this, listeners, is 1 becomes 5 becomes 25. This is something you can understand. It comes from the chart before. And then the 625, what I'm suggesting is that people can understand that. You can't simply draw it. Even if I'm doing this on a smartphone, even if I was a professor and I had a huge chalkboard, I can't make 625 marks, and even if I could, none of my students would follow along. So here is the math that allows us to do the same thing. And so I have to go here and say math. And then I got to go down to P and I'm just realized I'm in the wrong cell. So I want to be here. So I can go math. Power. So now here's the formula here. Listeners, I'm kind of asking you to ignore this. This is I'm the base and the exponent. So to get 25, you are 5, or here, let me do this. You are that cell, comma, 2. That gives you 625. So that's not what I wanted to do. So let me do this again. I'm going to go math, power. That is what I wanted to do. I just did it in the wrong cell. So I go here, and then I say, comma, 2. So now I've recreated 625 mathematically. And if I had done this right, I would have taken... I got to start over because I don't know how to edit it. So I got to go like this, and then say math, and then say power. And I got to go this cell, comma, 2. So now I've recreated, mathematically, I've recreated 25. And here I've got function I lost it. Math. I think I tapped on the wrong place. All right, so here I've got it again, and I'm going to say this cell. No, this is wrong. So this, I don't know how to recreate the 5, so I'm going to just type the 5. So here we have the mathematical equivalent that calculates a 25, that calculates a 625. And what happens if I do this again? See, this number here is this 5 squared. I get 625. So now I'm going to take 625 and square it. So I'm going to say function, math, power. I'm going to say 625. I'm going to go comma, squared. And now I've got this huge number. So listeners, here's really the point that I wanted to get to, and I can't seem to make this. There we go. This number is already 39,000. So if I continued to go, and I'm not going to do it, but you can just understand a 5 to 25 with just 3 layers of passing this on. Again, this is very much like the flu. It passes like the flu. It has symptoms like the flu. But instead of infecting 2 or 3, suddenly we're infecting 5. Instead of killing 1 in a certain group of people, it's killing 10 times more of that in the same group of people. So this is how it passes. That flu would have only given us 2 here. And then of the 2 that got sick, not as many would die. And this COVID-19 gives us 5 here. And once you have 5 and you start squaring 5, you get to 39,000 in just 1, 2, 3 layers. It is just, for people who can't understand this, it is understandable. Let me do this again. You go from 1 to 5. I'm asking listeners, do you accept? It's popularly explained that this number, on average, is the right number. People don't know they have it, they pass it on, and 5 people get it. And then the 5, I get to 25 in a visual way. Well, I can't get to 625, so I turn to math, and I use mathematics to get me to 625 because I can't draw it. And then I just take that one more step and I'm already up to 39,000. This explains the growth. Now I've done this in I'm using a broken cell phone. This is embarrassing for me. I have this case here to prevent broken cell phones. I had it out of the case. I was changing the battery and I was on concrete on a bicycle and it was raining and cold and I recently broke the screen and I have a replacement phone. I just haven't activated it yet. So I'm doing this on a broken phone. And I did that because I want this to be a hacker sloppy version, because BBC is one media organization that's done this in a very quick, fluid, professional graphics and showed how this is happening mathematically. But I think it's so smooth that they step from 25 to 625, and I think I have the possibility of having an audience that they don't have, and maybe having someone who will understand me that wouldn't understand the faster, slicker, smoother, professional one. So again, 1 becomes 5. I think everyone can understand that. 5 becomes 25. Everyone can understand that. 25 becomes 625. Now it's getting difficult. Let's turn to spreadsheets and mathematics. You just raise it to the power. That's what this is. 625 squared. That's how you get this number. And that I wish I could undo, and I did. So that's how it happens. So listeners, there is a video that could be found, a series of videos, probably with a phrase something like Italian mayors lose their shit. And it's a series of videos it's a compilation of actual videos of Italian mayors basically screaming at their constituents, telling them, don't be stupid. This is a socially transmitted disease, not a sexually transmitted disease. Not a exchange of bodily fluids or blood not an exchange of blood, not an exchange of sexual fluids. This is a socially transmitted disease. Literally a conversation with someone face to face within a typical traditional distance, and suddenly a person who's infected but doesn't know it has infected someone else. On average, that's happening. Every person that gets infected infects 5 more people. The flu is like 2 or 3. This is passing to more people. I think everyone can understand that. At least they can accept what's in the news as being legitimate, because if it was not legitimate, I think we would. There are so many data points out there now that if that 5 number was way off, people would be saying, no, it's not 5, it's higher or lower. They'd be disputing that number. Nobody is disputing 5 people get sick from 1. So if you take that, you can go from 5 to 25, and then with spreadsheets mathematics, you can trust that 25 becomes 625, and in a blink, now you're 39,000. This is real. It is not in all of us, and I'm worried. Every minute of my day, inside and outside my home, my social life is light, and my work life is on the scale of dangerous to safe. My work life in all aspects is on the safer side. I'm still worried. This has been Tom Duty, middle-aged American, living in New Jersey, near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Duty in a Google search from my site. Thank you for listening. Have a good day, good evening, or restful night's sleep. Ciao.